Okay, what in the red solo cup is happening here? Because just when you thought things couldn't get any crazier with Kim and Kroy, now they seem to have found themselves in a real life wife swap. And then there's Dorit and PK and the divorce that just keeps getting more and more bitter by the day. And now the same woman who can't make her mortgage is asking her kids to ask her ex-husband if he can pay for them to take a $100,000 vacation to Mexico. Meanwhile, over in Rhode Island, they're dealing with emotional support crackers, unresolved trauma, sexual history confusion involving two brothers, and now literal evidence of that bozo Brian cheating. Still, let's get into it. Hey everybody, and welcome to Generally Speaking, the podcast that bridges the worlds of pop culture and personal development. I'm your host, Jennifer Snook. I am so happy to be here with you guys today. I hope everything has been going well in your world. If you're watching us on YouTube, please make sure you reach out and smash that subscribe button. I would appreciate it. Well, you guys, it's been a minute. I have to tell you, I took a week off. I took like a week and a half off, and I just needed a minute just for the sake of my own sanity. Plus, my kids came into town for Mother's Day, and I just didn't want it to feel for them like they were having to share my time with anything because I get so little time with them that I really just wanted to soak it up. My baby has been here for a couple weeks. Her best friend is getting married. So anyway, I just don't get a lot of time with my kids. So between needing a break and my kids being here, anyway, that's where I've been. But anyway, I'm back, I'm rested, I'm happy to be here, and we have a lot to talk about. So I'm sure everybody has heard by now that Kim Zolciak has a new, very rich boyfriend, right? And we also know that Kim has lost custody of her younger 4 kids, right? We now know that Kim's new boyfriend's ex-wife is taking him to court to get an injunction so he will stop spending money to facilitate Kim's lavish lifestyle. Can you believe that? Apparently their finances are being drained and she claims that it's because of Kim. And then get this, you guys, here's the topper. She now has a new boyfriend. Kim's new boyfriend's soon-to-be ex-wife has a new boyfriend. His name is Kroy freaking Biermann. I mean, honestly, you can't make this shit up. I mean, so now they're basically one big happy family. I mean, maybe they could all just save money and move in together. I don't know. Hilarious. And then holy foreclosure, Batman. I mean, what about everything that's going down with PK and Dorit? I mean, it is getting dirtier and dirtier by the day, you guys. And now we're seeing evidence of all of these text messages that apparently Dorit put the kids up to sending. And I mean, how awful. I mean, it's so terrible to use your kids in a situation like that. You know, I'm sure she's trying to use what will pull on PK's heartstrings the most. And also it keeps it kind of insulated, right? Well, nobody knows the manipulation that's happening because it's all kept within the family. I mean, talk about dragging your kids into it. And I mean, what about the insane amount of money that PK said that she is spending? I mean, it is so sad that the problem is people get addicted to this fame. It's just like PK said, I knew how to play the game to get her on there. But the problem is the game is a very expensive game to play. But they get addicted to that fame and then they're willing to pay anything that it costs to stay in the game. And then they ruin their lives. And then they, we've seen it a million times. But in the next breath, these people need to take personal responsibility, right? It's not incumbent on Bravo to manage these people, right? It's their job to manage themselves. So ultimately, this should all just be a real big learning lesson for these people to say, oh, yeah, I see how I really got lost in the sauce and I had to reel myself back and really get authentic about themselves and how easy it is to kind of fall into that trap. And then suddenly you're down that rabbit hole. And then you find yourself there, you look around and you realize that your whole life was nothing but a facade and that you made all of these insane decisions to keep that facade up. I mean, that's brutal. You talk about personal development. That is a huge part of personal development, right? Being who you think you're supposed to be and playing a part. You think that playing a part is going to make you feel something, make you become someone, make you feel important in a way that you didn't before. And then you realize that that wasn't true at all, right? That is all such a huge, important part of personal development, right? Sometimes going down the wrong lanes is where we learn the greatest lessons. And then you guys, Bravo did their upfronts. Finally, now we know exactly what's coming down the pipe. We are getting a fresh Lisa Vanderpump show, you guys. Vanderpump Rules Las Vegas style. Lisa Las Vegas. The show description says Lisa Vanderpump has been ruling over the Las Vegas Strip for years now. with 3 hotspot restaurants serving up chic cocktails in her signature whimsical settings. Now she is expanding her Vegas empire through the opening of her high-profile namesake hotel. In this limited series, we follow the behind-the-scenes dash to make the property worthy of the Vanderpump brand. LVP shares what inspired the newest enterprise and pulls back the curtain on the down-to-the-wire drama. The series will culminate in the Vanderpump Hotel's lavish opening party with fan favorite Bravo celebrities celebrating the launch. So, I mean, that'll be exciting. I mean, let's face it. I mean, Lisa Vanderpump knows how to make a show. I think we can all agree on that. And then, you guys, what about the fact that we have this new Housewives show that is not calling itself a Housewives show? This is a whole rebrand that Bravo's trying to do to make itself, cooler and hipper, kind of like the Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. That's what this new take is, right? But it's basically Real Housewives of Texas. Secrets, Lives, Texas Wives. Real Housewives of Texas. It says, in the heart of Texas Hill Country is the picture-perfect town of Bourne, where wealth, beauty, faith, and family reign supreme. Centered on a tight-knit circle of glamorous women, this series follows the lives as they raise families, run ranches and farms, and manage sparkling social calendars in a town rooted in rodeos and tradition. Behind the polished smiles and Sunday sermons, however, there are intimate relationships and forbidden romances that test loyalties and marriages, jeopardizing the town's pristine image and proving that perfection is far more complicated than anyone could imagine. So, I mean, juicy and meaty and Texas. And then, you guys, we have returning shows. They announced Real Housewives of Rhode Island Season 2. We knew that was happening. And then The Valley, Persian style. We do not have the regular Valley in here, though, which is bizarre. We have Wife Swap, The Real Housewives Edition Season 2. Below Deck, Down Under. I love that show. I love that show so much. Married to Medicine. I know some people don't get the Married to Medicine thing, but I'm telling you, I love a Married to Medicine binge. I really do. Calling Dr. Jackie. Then we have Southern Charm Season 12. I mean, honestly, Southern Charm might be my favorite show. I don't know. It's so hard. I mean, could you do a favorite show? I think I have to do top 3. I do not think that I could narrow it down to a single show. Maybe I would if someone said you could only watch one show. What would it be? If you guys could only watch one Bravo show, this is a very, very serious question. If you could only watch one Bravo show, I need to know which one it would be, you guys. Oh, it's so hard for me. And honestly, I think right now, I really do think right now, I would have to go Rhode Island. Just because it still feels so fresh. And I think that freshness is a component that once it's gone, it's gone. So I think they still have the freshman magic. They still don't feel like they completely know what they're doing. And that's the way it should be. They shouldn't feel like they're running the show. And on so many of the other shows, it does feel that way. It feels like the cast is actually producing the show, but it doesn't on Rhode Island. And it didn't on Hey on McBee. It hasn't so far. I don't know how it's going to feel going into season 3, but season 1 and season 2 still felt very authentic to me. And then we have Summer House Season 11. And I know there was a lot of talk flying around saying that we weren't going to get it back, but here we are. And then Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, you guys, which I love that show so much. But that is one of the shows that I feel is very heavily produced by the cast, namely Heather Gay. Thank you very much. Executive producer Heather Gay. Top Chef. I love Top Chef, but I don't love Top Chef enough to watch. You know what I mean? Like, I just don't have the time to watch Top Chef, but I mean, it's a great show. We love it. Below Deck, I love it. I love Below Deck. You could give me any Below Deck and I wouldn't complain about it. And then, you guys, Real Housewives of Potomac, which you know is one of my personal favorites. And then, sad to say that I am not excited about this, but The Real Housewives of New York, Season 16. But I'm sorry. Honestly, I have no interest in it. And I hate saying that. I really do. I can't even believe the day has come that I am saying that. Doesn't mean I'm not going to give it a chance, but I'm going to tell you what, I'm definitely not going to choose to watch this over Phony Roni. And I can guarantee you, this will be interesting, you guys. Do you think that Bravo is going to put the new Roni up against Phony Roni or Palm Beach or The Golden Life or whatever the hell it's called over on E? I'm really curious to see how they're going to position that. But anyway, I don't really give a shit about new Roni. I really don't. But I am so pumped on this new show that's happening over on E. I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, it's going to be so good. And then we have the one that we've all been waiting for, you guys. I mean, Real Housewives of New Jersey is slated to come back. Season 15. I know there are all kinds of rumors flying around over there that there's already trouble in paradise and that the reunion has been short-lived. And I just don't think that we can make any snap decisions or any snap judgments. I think we don't know what's happening. And I think that things are probably so precarious over there right now that even if you did hear something, you wouldn't really know whether or not it was true. So I just think it's smarter to just give it a minute. But we will see. And then there's Watch What Happens Live. My God, season 24. I still remember the very first episode. Do you guys remember that? Do you remember who the first guest was? It was prostitution whore. Not Teresa, the actual prostitution whore, Danielle. Danielle Staub was Andy's first guest. And I remember looking at that set thinking, wow, I really think they could have done a little more with it. But anyway, they've livened it up over the years. Livened it up. See what I did there? And then you guys, we have the summer premieres. We have Below Deck Med season 11 premiering June 8th. And honestly, this is all really good to know because it's hard to keep up. You have to create a schedule. Honestly, if you're going to watch everything efficiently, you need to know what's on and when. And then, hey, speaking of the McBee dynasty, you guys, they are back for season 3 starting June 15th. And then Next Gen NYC season 2, June 24th. And then The Real Housewives of Orange County season 20, July 9th. And then it wraps up with The Real Housewives Ultimate Girls Trip, Roaring 20th, coming in during the dog days of summer, August 9th. And you know what is not on the new shows, you guys, which I'm really surprised about because so many people were loving it. But I don't see Ladies of London on the list coming up for this new season. So that's interesting. And you know what else is not on there? The original Vanderpump Rules. I don't see that on there either. And I'm so glad I remembered this. Speaking of Vanderpump Rules, you guys, I heard Katie Maloney the other day on a podcast. And they asked her about the Valley, how she felt about the Valley. And she said, well, she was talking about the fact that she has a really hard time watching it. She says, because honestly, I'm not really friends with people that are on that show. She says, the only 2 people that I have any interaction with are my ex, Tom, obviously. And then she said, and the only other person that I actually like on that cast is Janet. And I just sat there thinking, Janet, of course it's Janet. Of course you're friends with Janet. I mean, because they're basically the same person, right? I just couldn't believe it. When she said that that was the only other person on the cast that she liked, I couldn't believe it, but I could believe it. You know what I'm saying? I mean, honest, Janet. Anyway, you guys, it is time for Reality Check, and we are heading over to Rhode Island. I love this show so much. I'm telling you, I am feeling about Rhode Island, honestly, the way I used to feel about Jersey. Honestly. And I love the characters. That is what I love about this show. Everybody is such a unique character. And I do have a favorite. I have officially chosen a favorite. And you know what? I want to know who your favorite Rhode Island character is, you guys. That's exactly what I want to know. Isn't it? They are amazing. And they're all just so freaking different. But I want to know who your favorite one is. So we pick back up at Seaview Terrace where tensions are still brewing. We've got Alicia who was fully in conversation with her emotional support dolls. And honestly, at this point, the dolls may be the healthiest communicators in this house. Meanwhile, we've got Rosie. She's waking up feeling like absolute death. She says that she was awake all night vomiting. She says that she doesn't think that it's food poisoning because she didn't really eat much. She says she's just got to be sick. And I mean, it's clear that she feels like shit, but she really is a gamer. She really is pulling through. She calls her husband to download him on all the drama that went down the night before. And she tells him that it's quite possible that she may just be sick from all the bullshit that Kelsey was throwing around. And over in Kelsey's room, she's still laser focused on this 8,000 square foot house that Rosie keeps talking about. And I mean, at this point, it's too much. At this point, Kelsey wants blueprints, square footage verification, a structural engineer. I mean, honestly, we're like 2 minutes away from a Zillow live stream. But if you really pay attention to this, you can see that this isn't about Rosie's exaggerating. This is about the fact that Kelsey feels like she is slipping on the social ladder since she's moving out of the castle, right? And so now she doesn't want to fall below Rosie. Before she was above Rosie, and now Rosie's like maybe gaining on her. So she's trying to like poke some holes in Rosie's credibility so that she can still be top dog. It's this whole positioning situation. And it's all just built on status. Kelsey has clearly built something for herself just by sheer proximity to the amount of wealth that she's been around. And Rosie told her husband everything that Kelsey had said. You know, your house isn't what you really say it is. You're lying about your situation. He tells her, don't worry about it. Everything that she's saying about you is actually her life. That's actually her truth, he said. And he was dead on. That's exactly what it is. Then everybody gathers for breakfast. Ashley's distracted because her son is sick. Alicia's texting Rula to find out if she's actually going to emerge from her marital bunker today. But I'm telling you, she's not. Rula is never going to go on these girls' trips. She is never going to leave her home base because then that bozo is unsupervised, right? And now she won't be able to keep tabs on him. And keeping tabs on him is the only thing that she cares about doing at this point. I mean, honestly, she probably doesn't even want to leave him alone long enough to go to the bathroom. Who knows? He'll send a text off in that time. Anyway, everybody's sitting around the table, all raving about breakfast when Kelsey comes down. And as soon as Kelsey enters the room, the energy shifts. And it is very clear that the tension from the night before has now entered this room. Shit was boiling last night, but it's still at a good simmer. Kelsey says to Cameron, you know, I really thought that Rosie dropped the mask, but apparently that mask is still on her face. Super glued to her face. Rosie looks at her and says, listen, if you don't like me, that's fine. And if you don't want to believe me, that's fine. And then Rosie to camera says, you know, she can say whatever she wants. The truth is she's a high-end squatter. Then Liz looks at Rosie and she says, you know, I don't know, Rosie, but there's just no way I could have been as hot as you were last night and then just come in here is like everything's fine. And then Alicia jumps immediately in because, you know, Alicia can't stand a second of silence. And she goes, yeah, you know, so I want to know, like, is that your Beyonce thing? Is that like your Sasha Fierce thing? You know, the way she just puts on a mask. And Liz goes, Alicia, do you mind? Can I finish here? And she goes, yeah, well, I'm just asking her. She goes, listen, it doesn't matter. I'm just asking. And you can clearly tell that there is tension between these two. And you can clearly tell, though, that they're also very familiar with this tension, like they've been dealing with it for 100 years at this point. I mean, it feels like these two have been professionally annoying each other for years. Liz says, I'm just sitting here trying to express myself, and all I hear is nah, 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 noise, noise, noise. Then Ashley tries to step in and says, you know, Kelsey and everyone, you know, like maybe Rosie would open up more if you guys just gave her a little grace and maybe just nurtured her a little bit. And you should have seen everyone recoil at the word nurture. It was very clear that these women are clearly not comfortable with kindness. I mean, honestly, she said the word nurture and it was suddenly like she said the word exorcism. They're like, nurture. I mean, it was like vampires seeing sunlight, and Liz goes, I skeeved the word nurture. And Joellen goes, me too. I hate the word nurture. And of course they hate the word nurture because it's very clear, and they've said it 100 times already, that they were not nurtured and they did not feel cared for. And so when you're not nurtured and you don't feel cared for, you're uncomfortable with the whole concept, right? Because it just feels so foreign that you just wall it off and you don't want to deal with it because you don't know how to deal with it. You don't know how to be loved. You don't know how to have someone be tender with you. You don't know how to receive that because you've never had the honor of receiving it. And I'm telling you, their reaction to the word nurture tells you a lot about what most of this cast. These girls don't trust softness. They don't feel comfortable receiving care. And honestly, when people grow up without emotional safety, most of the time they will end up interpreting softness as weakness. And the last thing they want to be seen as is weak. So instead of nurture, they default to sarcasm, interrogation, and toughness and control, which is exactly why Liz freaked out that night that Kelsey tried to say something to her. Remember, that's why everything is so mercurial with them. But that sweet little Ashley, she does understand softness, and she just sits there weeping at the table, and all the rest of the girls get so uncomfortable. And they're like, oh my God, she's crying. And they're like, yeah, look at her. She's crying. She's crying. She won't stop crying. Nobody knows how to deal with this crying girl. Liz goes, of course she's crying. It's a day that ends in Y. And then she goes, I'm fine. I'm fine, you guys. I'm fine. I feel bad for Rosie because I mean, she's trying to open up, but you guys are making it like almost impossible for her. And at this point, poor Ashley is just sobbing. She's just really working herself up. And then Rosie, who is not just sick, but sick of just listening to everybody talk about this, says, listen, you guys, I just want to throw up. That's what I need to do. I need to throw up. And she stands up and she goes to throw up and everybody follows, not to watch her throw up, just to be done with breakfast. Then everybody retires to their room. Over in Kelsey's room, Joellen and Alicia tell her that she should go actually and talk to Rosie and have a one-on-one with her. Alicia says, yeah, you should. She's really good one-on-one. Kelsey says, you know, I'm really shocked that Joellen would want to be the bridge for me and Rosie. She says, because if I tried to build a bridge between her and Rula, I'm pretty sure she'd have my head. But Kelsey tells them all that she's going to do it, even though she doesn't understand Joellen's motive. She still is looking to make peace. She still wants to move forward. She knows that she's entering a new chapter in her life, and the last thing she needs are enemies. So she walks over to Rosie's room and Rosie's totally surprised to see her. And Kelsey says, listen, I don't want to have this trouble with you. And I know I might be hard for you to get to know. She says, I know I have a tough exterior. She says, you need to get to know me a little bit. I mean, which is just basically her way of saying that she has emotional walls so high that they need their own zoning permits. But Rosie says, listen, I'm really glad you're trying and I'll try too, because I want to move forward with you and I don't want things to be like this either. And then Rosie immediately starts talking about getting Kelsey out on the giant slide that Alicia has brought in for everyone to have fun on. And honestly, let's face it, there's not a lot of problems that a good slip and slide can't fix. Then Kelsey says to camera, she says, I'm really happy that I'm clearing this up with her because I am entering a new chapter in my life. And the last thing I want to worry about is Rosie hating me. And when Kelsey says that, you can tell that she really is honestly wrapping her head around the fact that her future is about to look a whole lot different. And so she's trying not to default into the way that she used to be and not be the bitch that she used to be. And it's almost like she's using this fight with Rosie to try and regain her own footing, like just overall, socially, emotionally, just kind of like identity-wise, this fight with Rosie became like a turning point, symbolic of something bigger for her. Then Ashley walks in and she's like, whoa, what's going on? The energy in here feels so much lighter. Did you guys, wow, look at you two. And she can feel that there is definitely a change in the energy between these two. And you could feel it. You could see it. You could feel it. You could feel that they were just like, I don't know, like they should be friends, but they were just kind of like fighting their own friendship. Then Ashley, in all of her Ashliness, goes, well, this is great. I mean, can we all just get a group hug? I mean, honestly, I love that girl. She is like the golden retriever of the entire cast. She just wants to help. She's the golden retriever, just with a lot of contour. Then we cut to Joellen and Alicia escaping the castle because, I mean, at this point, there's pretty much tension everywhere and they're just looking to escape it. So a driver comes and picks them up, and as he's taking them into town, he starts telling them about the fact that he used to live in the same mansion that they're staying in and that it's completely haunted, which, you know, of course freaked Alicia out. She just can't take it. She can't take much, honestly. I mean, honestly, poor Alicia, she went into a full like spiritual collapse and started reaching for her oregano oil. That's what she is. You know, she's the kind that, well, I got my oregano oil. She thinks that'll solve everything. Meanwhile, back at the castle, Rosie has apparently recovered from her near-death illness. And now apparently, according to her, she's ready to go hit this giant inflatable water slide, which honestly, remarkable recovery time. I mean, it was impressive. And maybe some of it had to do with the fact that she had all of this new energy running through her body because now her and Kelsey are good, right? Now the tension that had been following her around between her and Kelsey is gone, so she's got a new pep in her step. Liz, for her part, says that she will not be participating because giant inflatable death traps are really not her thing, which honestly was probably the wisest decision that anyone made that day. But then, you guys, the episode shifts. Joellen and Alicia get out on a trail that walks them out to this beautiful vista overlooking the ocean. And the two of them sit there and they have a conversation. And Joellen starts relating to Alicia because of the fact that Alicia the night before opened up about her father. So it gave Joellen an opening to talk about her problems with her mom. And she went into all of the trauma that she had growing up with her mom. And dear God, was it a lot. She talked about the fact that her mother sent her away numerous times, each time being harder and more difficult than the last. She says that her mother gave up partial custody of her to one of these, I don't know, places, institutions. And she says that there was sexual abuse. There was just, that poor girl just felt completely unloved. And anyway, the two of them sat there really commiserating about their shared, the shared likenesses of their childhood. And, I mean, I know what it's like. I grew up in a domestic war zone, literally. And my childhood was like a made-for-TV movie. So I know just how that shit lives in your cells. And until you heal the wound, like I always say, until you heal that wound will continue to win. And so it's important, and it's really important that this kind of stuff is being talked about on reality TV, right? And showing people that there is an emotional toll that is taken when stuff like that happens. And yeah, I think this is really important television, the fact that they're talking about such sensitive topics, and especially that such tough women are diving into that vulnerable part within themselves and having the courage to go there. Because you can see Alicia when she's talking about it and when she breaks down, it's really hard for her to be vulnerable and talk about that, because then she even talks about how it's impacted her life today and how she thinks that maybe her issues with her father have a lot to do with the fact that she's not willing to walk down the aisle. And all of those things do play a part in how we live our lives today, and until you work through them. And so anyway, I think the show is great. And honestly, I think it's doing a public service. I think it's really important to talk about this shit and normalize talking about this stuff. Joellen actually told Alicia that she often considered suicide just because the thought of being gone felt easier than being her mother's daughter. I mean, what a horrible thing to have to say. And when she says that, you can see poor Alicia just completely unravel as she's hearing it, because she knew Joellen back then. She says, and she knew that something was happening. She says, but like in a lot of communities, nobody really wants to talk about it openly. She says, I knew that there was smoke. She says, everybody knew that there was smoke. We just didn't know where the fire was coming from. And then she goes back and she starts connecting more of her own dots regarding her father and the pain that she went through with him. She's talking about the fact that she's sure that it has something to do with her own fear of commitment and her hesitation with Billy. The fact that she always wants to be the one to leave a relationship first, so she's not the one being left. And the fact of the matter is, when abandonment gets wired into you that early, it's really normal to try and beat rejection to the punch. It just seems so logical. And honestly, this scene was just so raw and real and uncomfortable and awkward. And that's exactly what made it so wonderful. Just an absolute great scene. And honestly, it's more evidence as to why, remember when Ashley made that nurture comment earlier and everyone recoiled? This is exactly why. Nobody is willing to be soft because they're all so terrified that they're going to get hurt again. These women don't come from emotional environments where softness felt safe. They had to be tough to survive, so vulnerability feels very dangerous to them, which is why every disagreement on this show feels like it escalates like somebody's fighting for their own emotional oxygen. So the two of these women have this incredibly bonding scene and moment, and it all felt so very real. And then they turn and they haven't taken 2 steps, and immediately Alicia goes, oh my God, I need my crackers. Where are my crackers? Where are my crackers? I'm telling you, this woman is hilarious. Where are my crackers? I love it. Honestly, the most relatable post-trauma processing I've maybe ever heard on Bravo. The two of them hike back to the car. As they hop in, Alicia's still crying over her crackers when she gets a text from Rula, who says that there's just no way that she's going to be able to make it out because she's just been so sick. She picks up her phone and she reads the text. It says, hey, doll. Feeling like shit. Thank you for asking. My entire body has been in a lot of pain, head to toe. I was really looking forward to being with you on this trip. I hope you're enjoying everything and aren't too exhausted. She looks at Joellen and she says, that's crazy, right? And Joellen says, well, I mean, she does seem to have a lot of health concerns. And then they flash back to Rula making excuses just a few days back. But sorry, once again, why would anybody expect her to voluntarily drive away from her dude when all she really cares about is keeping tabs on his sorry ass. Then we actually cut over to Rula's house where she is fully in bed, being cared for like a Victorian woman recovering from tuberculosis. The kids are bringing her breakfast. Her husband is hovering attentively nearby. Everybody's speaking in hushed tones. Mama, mama, is mama okay? But honestly, when you see Rula, she's sitting up in bed looking beautiful. It's giving like wealthy woman in a pharmaceutical ad. I don't know. Then to camera, Rula says, before the girls' trip, I started feeling really horrible. My head was pounding. My fever was spiking. I couldn't tolerate light. I couldn't sit up. She says, eventually I had to be taken to the emergency room by rescue. She says, I was so sick, I thought I might die. Well, I could have died. She says, but what was really interesting is that all of my blood work came back negative. They gave me a lot of tests. They gave me a CAT scan. They gave me a MRI. They gave me blood work. It all came back negative. So now the doctors are thinking that it might be one of those mystery illnesses that they just don't have a name for. A mystery illness. Are you listening to this? And now I'm not saying that this woman wasn't sick, okay? Maybe she was sick. I'm not saying she wasn't sick. But what I am saying is that the timing of this is just fascinating, considering the fact that this girl's trip also required her to leave her husband unattended. I'm telling you, honestly, I think Rula's nervous system instantly starts buffering the minute she gets like 15 feet away from this guy. So anyway, the doctors couldn't give her an official diagnosis, but I'm diagnosing her with don't want to leave my cheating husbanditis. You may have heard of it. Symptoms include fever, emotional surveillance, random trips to the ER, and sudden onset of castle avoidance, which honestly is just so hilarious on so many levels, because not only is she loving the fact that he is there in that moment, but she is just loving the fact that she is not only there with her near and dear, but the fact that he's taking care of her and it's all being caught on camera. That's all she cares about. Then back at the castle on the giant slide, the girls rope the butlers into stripping off their work clothes and going down the slide in their skivvies. Liz, for her part, decides that she is absolutely not participating in the inflatable water slide festivities. Liz walks into the house and says, honestly, right now, 21-year-old butlers just really aren't in my wheelhouse right now. So Liz heads back in the house with Ashley, and she tells her how much she appreciates her friendship. And then to camera, Ashley says something interesting about Liz. She says, I have heard from a lot of people that Liz really does have this tough exterior, but once you get past that, she's really just a softie. Which immediately just flashed us back to the conversation that Liz had at the table during that whole unmasking thing. And she was talking about the fact that she has a really tough exterior, but beyond that, she's probably the most sensitive one at the table, which honestly is usually the case, right? The harder the exterior, the softer the inside, because that tough exterior has to protect that soft inside. It's basic. And honestly, it seems to be very much a recurring theme in this cast. Everybody's wearing this big emotional armor, just like secretly begging to be understood. All of them. Then Joellen and Alicia return and find Kelsey laying out on the grass, trying to absorb the peace from the earth, when suddenly she gets stung directly in the ass by a bee. Then everybody heads upstairs to get ready for the evening boat ride hosted by Liz, which is much more her speed than water slides and pubescent butler energy. On the way to the boat, everybody splits in two cars. In Alicia's car, she's distributing crackers to everybody like an unstable flight attendant. She is too much for me. Hilarious. I love, love, love her. Meanwhile, in the other car, Ashley suddenly gets a call, and you could hear her poor little son crying. And I'm telling you, nothing will ruin the mood like a crying kid. Not because the kid is crying, just because if a kid is crying, something is wrong. And I can't have something be wrong with a kid and me try to continue on to have a good time. It just can't happen. And immediately you can feel the energy shift, because this wasn't just a, my brother hit me kind of thing. This sounded like sick. Or like, this wasn't just kid with a sniffle. This is sick. And you can hear it through the phone. And even Liz hears it through the phone, and she looks at Ashley and she says, yeah, you may need to go home. And Ashley says, well, I'm going to see how things go after this boat ride, and then I'll just kind of reassess. But at this point, you can tell that she's clearly distracted by what's going on at home with her baby. And I mean, who wouldn't be? Then the ladies all board the boat, but before Ashley can even get a chance to admire the charcuterie board that she'd been looking forward to, she gets another phone call, but this time it's from her dad, who happens to be a doctor, and he says that we're actually taking your son to the hospital. We are going to the hospital. And as soon as Ashley heard that, she completely dissolved. I mean, you know, Ashley cries when the wind blows, let alone when her dad says that they're taking her son to the hospital. Ashley literally stepped onto that boat and 10 seconds later turned around and stepped off it. And I mean, it was real and you could feel it. Ashley fully breaks down and says, I gotta go. And everybody rallies around her. Everybody's completely supportive. So they send her on her way. And then Ashley heads back to shore on the dinghy as the women all watch her drift into the distance. Liz says, listen, I know what it's like. When my girls needed me, I was there. I once even left Florida for my cat, which honestly just felt so Rhode Island to me. My grandmother was from Rhode Island and she would have done the same thing for her cat. So it just felt right. Then the mood shifts hard. And once Ashley leaves, Alicia enters this euphoric state because of the charcuterie board, you guys, which apparently came with unlimited crackers, which you know is her favorite thing. Alicia does a toast and everybody's feeling lighter after such an emotional day. And then someone asked, have you had sex on a boat? Kelsey goes, well, I'm pretty sure Joellen did. I'm pretty sure Joellen had sex on a boat with my ex. She says, he actually told me about a crazy sexcapade they had on a boat. Kelsey says, Joellen, I think you had sex on a boat with my ex. And Joellen very calmly responds, she goes, that wasn't on a boat. That was on land. But then Kelsey starts sharing all kinds of very detailed information about the situation. And Joellen goes, well, listen, I was a little slutty in my 20s. And then eventually we learn that Joellen dated one of the brothers, right? Kelsey's boyfriend's brother, but apparently slept with Kelsey's boyfriend too. And then when the producer asks her which brother was better in bed, Joellen responds with, well, Kelsey should know that answer. Excuse me? Kelsey should know that answer? How in God's name should Kelsey know that answer if Kelsey didn't bang both of the brothers? So both of the girls banged both of the brothers? Is that what I'm getting? Am I the only one that got that? Am I crazy, you guys? I did hear that, right? Did you guys hear that? I need to know. If you think that both of the chicks banged both of the brothers, please leave me a comment. I need to know if I'm right or wrong. Maybe I misheard it. Maybe I did. Maybe I did. The girls are finally settling into the rhythm of the day. They're sipping tequila, hunting for cigarettes, and Liz is basically trying to find a hidden smoking corner on the boat, like it's like she's sneaking behind the bleachers at her Catholic school, which honestly felt very on brand for her. Meanwhile, Joellen checks in with Kelsey and she asks her how it felt after her, powwow with Rosie. And Kelsey says, well, actually, it feels really good. She says it does feel better since I talked to her. Meanwhile, Joellen checks in with Kelsey and asks her if she feels better after talking with Rosie. And Kelsey says, yeah, actually, I really do. It's important at this point because you can finally start to feel like the overall temperature of the group start to come down a little bit. Over on the other side of the boat, Alicia tells Rosie that she noticed something today too. She says, usually you're a lot harder on Kelsey and you weren't today. You were a lot softer with her. She says you were less guarded. You were less defensive, And Rosie says, well, listen, Kelsey coming to my room really did mean a lot to me and I appreciated that. Which honestly is tracking with the exact same thing that Kelsey is saying on the other side of the boat. So that was like a real connection made between those two. It did feel like they finally got somewhere. And honestly, that tracks with what we're learning about Rosie too, because even though she's so prim and proper, she's made it very clear that she puts on a tough act. And for somebody that puts on such a tough act, she seems very responsive to effort. The second she feels emotionally safe, her walls started dropping immediately. Meanwhile, Kelsey tells Joellen that she's decided that she's just going to accept Rosie for who she is and try to stop bringing up the past. And Joellen gives what may have been the healthiest advice of the whole episode. She goes, listen, I'm telling you, who cares, Kelsey? Who cares if she's building a 75,000 square foot house? Who cares? So what? Just say congratulations and move on. And honestly, she's not wrong because at some point you want to decide if you want peace or you keep wanting to conduct a forensic investigation into somebody else's square footage. And thank God Kelsey seems ready to let it go, at least for now. Then the women all head back to the mansion where they're greeted once again by their two aggressively young butlers. Everybody starts changing into pajamas, and suddenly you can feel another shift in the energy. And we see Joellen up on a balcony, and we see Liz with a mask on her head, poking around the corner. She's worried about this place being haunted. I'm thinking it's haunted by Liz. And we don't know what's brewing at this point, but you can tell that it is something salacious and possibly slightly sinister. Liz comes creeping up to Joellen and she says, "What is it? What are you doing? You look very upset." Oh my God, you look so upset. And Joellen says, "Well, it's because I feel like shit." And Liz says, "Well, why? What happened?" Joellen says, "Well, you remember the other day at the polo match? You know, the fact that you and I went up to Rula and, you know, she was like, well, get me proof, get me real proof." She says, "Well, I did. I got her the proof." And she picks up her phone and she says, "This is it." And then she gives Liz the phone, and you can see she sits there with this nervous look on her face while Liz is looking at it, and her face is dropping. Liz says, "Oh my God. Oh my God. Holy shit." And then Liz says to camera, "This is indisputable evidence." She looks back at Joellen and she says, "I've seen enough." And then inside, while Alicia and the other girls are enjoying more cheese and, that's right, crackers, they're suddenly interrupted by Joellen and Liz, who are fresh off this balcony powwow. Joellen and Liz sit down, they excuse the butlers, and Kelsey goes, "Wow, Joellen looks like she's seen a ghost." And then suddenly everybody feels something is shifting once again. And Alicia looks, she goes, What the hell is going on? What's going on? What happened? What happened?" Liz goes, "Well, there's more. More has been uncovered." Kelsey goes, What are you guys talking about? Rula?" And Liz says, Yeah. Joellen says, "Yeah, that's it." Rosie goes, "Oh God." Liz goes, "This is bad though." Rosie goes, "How bad?" Liz goes, "Joellen, release the hounds." And then Joellen stands up and she walks over to the girls and she hands them her phone once again. And suddenly their faces start dropping. Oh my God. Oh my God. Alicia says, "I have no words." Rosie gasps, "Oh my God. This is bad. This is bad." Then she says to camera, "So the video starts and you're looking through a glass door. Brian and this blonde woman are standing there. Brian is standing there consoling her and caressing her with his hand on her ass, kissing her." And then Alicia says, "And there's this hug, this huge, long hug. They're like embracing each other for like 5 minutes. It's like a 5-minute hug." I mean, I was like, who does that? Who hugs like that? And honestly, that's not wrong. I mean, nobody embraces like that unless there's blood, rent, trauma, or bodily fluids involved, honestly. I mean, like, is this really happening right now? I'm just thinking, is this a setup? Then to camera, Liz says, "Joellen's been vindicated because she said that Brian's been doing his thing with this woman." Well, I mean, you can't deny the video footage. To camera, Rosie says, "I don't think anybody questions Brian's cheating on Rula. I'm more so interested in how Joellen got this video and what she plans to do with it." Then Rosie looks right at Joellen and goes, "Who took this video?" And Joellen goes, "Well, I mean, after what happened at the polo match when Rula told me to get her real proof," she says, "Well, I mean, I asked my girlfriend who's friends with the mistress if there was any proof that this is actually happening because of the fact that Rula was telling me that I was lying and trying to make it out like I was crazy. And she told me, yeah, there's plenty of proof." And then to camera, Joellen says, "You know, I never asked my friend for proof." She says, "But Rula told me she wanted hard proof. And I mean, well, I mean, this is as hard as it gets." And then Liz goes, "Well, the question is, what are we going to do?" Rosie goes, "Well, I think she needs to see this video, right?" Liz goes, "Well, we have to let her know. I mean, and not just as her friend, but I mean, even as a girl, I mean, she has to know." Joellen says, well, I'm sick of being the one who ruins her life. So, I mean, it's not going to be me. I'm not telling her. And she says to Alicia, well, you're very close to her. And Alicia says, well, I've already told her one thing before and I don't want to break her heart again. I don't know. I'm confused. Liz goes, well, if it's coming from me, it'll just feel like more of the same. So that won't work. Joellen goes, this is a really fucked up situation. Liz goes, so, I mean, what are we going to do? And everybody goes, not it, not it. No, 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 not it. It's not me. No, not me. And I mean, this is the kind of news that nobody wants to be the bearer of. Nobody wants to be the bearer of more bad news, especially when it comes to Brian. But it's going to happen, you guys. This bomb is going to drop. I'm telling you, Rhode Island is where it's at. This show just keeps getting better and better each week. And now we have a season 2 confirmed, thank God. But honestly, you guys, we will see if when Jersey returns, it can keep up. It will be very interesting. All right, everybody, that about does it for the... Oh, you're so... Look who's here. Hi, Bubs. All right, everybody, that about does it for this episode of Generally Speaking. Thank you so much for being here. If you've been watching us on YouTube, please make sure you reach out and smash that subscribe button. I would appreciate it. If you've been listening on your favorite streaming platform, please make sure you give us a follow, leave us a 5-star rating, leave us a comment. We would love that. If you'd like to collaborate or have a question you'd like answered on the pod, you can reach me at generally@jennifersnook.com. And if you'd like to find me on socials, you can find me on TikTok at This Is Generally Speaking or on Instagram at The Jennifer Snook. All right, everybody, we have loved spending this time with you. Thank you so much for being here. And until we're together again, everybody, stay rooted in love. We'll see you next time.